Hey everybody, it's me, Remy, the comic book poser, and I am here to welcome you to enter the Poserverse. So if you paid attention a little bit to what was going on in terms of me kind of frantically tweeting, I had scheduled to interview Justin Richards, the author of Finger Guns, tonight. And then as we were kind of talking back and forth, and he was like, hey, is there a link I can drop so my friends can show up? I said, oh, you want to go live? And we had our socially acceptable Bill O'Reilly moment of like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And I broke the curse word barrier, so now Justin will be more comfortable to hop in as well. But I am really, really excited to talk to Justin. I'm really excited to talk to anybody about finger guns. If you've watched my video when Finger Guns issue 3 came out, I was really conflicted in terms of which was my book of the week in terms of either Finger Guns 3 or Alienated. And those were both heavy hitting emotional books. And I went with Finger Guns, and there were a couple of people who were like, really? And then when they read it, they were like, okay, you're right. I'm excited to talk about this. I'm also really excited that I'll promote myself a little bit before I bring Justin on. Tomorrow at, I believe it's 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern, I'm premiering issue number 2 of Indie Comics You Should Invest In. And it's an entire like 12, 15-minute video dedicated to why you should read Finger Guns. Because like I said in a blog review, and Justin had one of those moments where it was like seeing someone say book of the year is weird, kind of tingly. I really think that Finger Guns has the potential, unless, I get pissed off in terms of what happens after the tragic issue 4, which we won't talk about at all, but I show you one frame of in tomorrow's video. I really like it. I'm really excited to bring on our guest, and maybe we'll see if we have successfully bullied a few other special guest appearances. If not, it's just me and Justin, and then we'll drop a link for some folks to hop in. But I am very excited to bring in to the stream and welcome into the Poserverse the author of Finger Guns, Justin Richards.
Hey, I'm here. It's me. How's it going, man?
Yeah. Did I do enough justice for you? Did I hype up Finger Guns as much as you think it is in that place in your head?
Absolutely. Even beyond that, I'm super not a confident person, so you probably have higher thoughts and expectations for it than I do.
I mean, I'm not a confident person either. I work with teenagers, and I just have to kind of exude the bullshit of being one chapter ahead of you. Or I remember one of the first back and forths you and I had on Twitter. You were not very happy with our commander in Cheeto about some of his actions, and there were some talking about like a bunch of social justice issues. And my response was, as a government teacher in the middle of a red state, it's hard to toe the line. And your response was perfect. Like, fuck it. No, you need to teach these kids to be good humans. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
I called you out a bit.
Yeah, you did. And you were not wrong. But we live in fun times.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, the reality of your situation and all that, but it's definitely important, especially in times like this, that, the youth learn as much truth as possible. Because I discovered as an adult, I didn't learn a lot of truth as a kid. My textbooks missed a lot of stuff, a lot of specifically one-sided stuff. So,
you got all the white stuff.
Yes, white. I'm friends with another like comic book YouTuber who's a teacher in Brooklyn. His name's Wolf Warner. Go check him out. He does really cool, like quick, just like this shows you everything he got on Wednesdays and stuff like that. Cool dude. He used to watch me on when I was on YouTube. But yeah, I know he uses comic books to teach his kids and stuff like that. And like, obviously, he lives in a more black predominant area, so I hope that he's teaching them the truth too, and I'm pretty sure he would, knowing him.
I forgot that I meant to create a little banner for you, so I'm going to do that really quick. Emo comic.
So yeah.
He writes finger guns. Read it. God damn it. All right, now we have an official banner there for you. I knew I forgot to do something. So we'll do a little bit of chat management and say hi to everybody before I start asking you some questions. So first in the chat, and I'm going to guess that we might get an appearance from our resident Florida archetype. Nat, Gin and Something is here. If there is one person who might be slightly more hyped and slightly more into finger guns than me, it's Nat. What's up, TK? TK and I, as we've been bouncing back and forth on YouTube, learn we read a lot of the same kind of things. Congratulations on that 400 subs, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get you 100 more during that live stream. So you and Mo had to shave your heads. Sam, what's going on? My favorite Canadian, although that's a phrase that really, really hurts me. Nat says, here's an idea for a shirt for you, Justin. Just make a Be a Good Human t-shirt with your name on the back, and that'll be good. What else we got? Oh, the champ is here. The bearded comic bro. Greg, thanks for stopping by. Greg was the person who found the Sublime comic for me before I forgot to order it ahead of time in my LCS, and then he sent me a couple of extra books of significance to him. So I think it's on Saturday I'm releasing an homage unboxing to the bearded comic bro. See if we get some oohs, some ooh-wees, and some ooh-wee. Let's go. Joy Bag of Sevens, it's good seeing you. I know you've got some good questions about the art that we'll see if Justin can hop in and answer things. I also forgot that Joey Bag of Sevens is from Florida as well, so we'll see who is more peak Florida between Nat and Joey Bag of Sevens. And I think that's at least everybody who's popped in and said something, and it's good to see that Justin is in there doing some chat management as well. So, some of these questions might be a little bit superficial, since I know a lot of the people who are in the stream are excited about finger guns, but I'll ask them anyway for folks who might want to catch it on the rewind. Can you give us a brief professional introduction of who you are in the world of comics? Like, what kinds of stuff have you done? Give us a little pimp about finger guns, but that's where we're going to kind of hit hard in about 15 minutes. So let us know who Justin Richards, the Give No Fucks, will call you out if you are straight up wrong on Twitter, person is.
So yeah, I'm just a dude from Oregon. Been here most of my life. I was born in Idaho, but yeah, Pacific Northwest guy. And as far as like, this is my first thing in comics. I got incredibly lucky. I'm very blessed that through doing YouTube reviews like yourself and others, I got to know some of the people behind the scenes at Vault, or pretty much everyone behind the scenes at Vault, because we reviewed their books from the get-go and loved them. And so we talked and became friends, and I was able to get the right script at the right email at the right time, kind of thing, you know. So I'm lucky to have a 1-for-1 record.
And that blows me away, because there are a couple of folks that you see it takes kind of a while to find their way in. But in hearing you say that this is your first work, I've done some back and forth chats with Matthew Klickstein, who wrote an Aftershock book called You Are Obsolete, which is this crazy narrative about screen addiction. that ended up being true in the time of COVID. And while he's done a lot more writing, he was like, yeah, this was my first book. I had something to say. And like, if you're one for one, then when I kind of hype you up more in the end, I'm going to be excited. Bearded's going to hop around tonight because he's more popular than me because he's the champ. But he wants to let you know that he loves it and he loves your series and keep it up. And I told Greg that he needs to sit down when he finally gets to read issue 4 because she's a ride. Tapia family, what's up? And then Joey, maybe when we talk about some things that you might like to read, if you, especially in your review pass, want to help drop some knowledge on Joey Bag of Sevens, then that'll be a good back and forth as well. So my next question for you is, if this is your first comic work and you've noted that you've done comic YouTube stuff, you've done other comic adjacent things, but this is your first creative work, what drug you into wanting to talk comics? What drug you into wanting to put yourself out there and write your first book? Like, give us the Justin Richards comic story. Sure.
The origin story. I actually was I had some comics as a kid, but I never really collected, I would say. I just had like some X-Men laying around and got some like Pokemon and stuff like that. Excuse me. But I didn't really get into comics, especially indies, until about 2015. And as I moved out into the more urban area of Oregon, excuse me, throat's going dry. So yeah, I found a comic shop and was like, oh man, it'd be really cool to like give that a try again. And yeah, I'm actually, that's where I'm going with this, is being in the right place at the right time, because I just started buying comics and doing a lot of research on stuff I had missed over the years. And as I was talking to the comic shop owner, he was about to start doing a podcast with some other local comic people and invited me to be on. And so I did that and fell in love with indie books especially. And then I did that for 3 years and grew it. We never got really big, but we grew and did, improved our show and everything like that. So there just came a time where, I had read enough books that inspired me that I just felt like I had seen enough of the behind the scenes of how to make a comic and how to pitch. And I talked to some writers that I met along the way. And yeah, like it just kind of sparked one day that I was like, man, I really want to give it a try. And so then I had this idea from a dream from Finger Guns, and developed it early on with a friend of mine named Sabs Cooper, and then just kept working at it for about 1.5 years or so. And then that was when I felt like it was good to go, finished it off and pitched it. Yeah,
nice. So in terms of stuff that you like to read, I'm gonna be safe in assuming that you may like to still currently read some books. So what are some things that you like to read now? And then I'll ask you, what do you kind of read to kind of inspire you in terms of your creative process?
Yeah. One thing I was told before I got in, and I didn't believe, but it's 100% true, is like once you start making comics, it's really hard to have time to read comics. I definitely still have a read pile like right there. But it's, it grows more than it goes down usually. But some more recent series that I've liked like Die from Image was pretty good. I read the first arc only so far.
It's getting kind of wild now.
I bet. I've heard not everybody likes it, but I've heard that it's taken some turns.
Yeah.
Your Shirt Resident, that was a great book last year. I read most of Vault's stuff. And so like the plot, one of my favorites is Wasted Space. I love that book, and I'm so glad that it was their first ongoing book to like get more than a volume or two.
Then I'll real quick shout out. I'll point back at my shirt. I got put onto Resident by Bruce and Stephanie on the Bruce Moreau YouTube channel, and David Andry actually hangs out. Like, there are maybe 15, 20 people on a regular basis who show up to their Friday live stream. David Andry is one of them, and they were like, you should read this book. And I went and ordered the trade and was like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what kinds of things, if you're in the grind of creating and meeting deadlines, outweighs like pleasure reading and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
What kinds of things do you look to in terms of sources of inspiration?
I'd say my usual is music. I'm a big music lover and player, and so I like having music. I don't usually listen to stuff with words. I usually try to find instrumental stuff, but luckily there's a lot of cool, instrumental metal bands, instrumental kind of whatever that you want to find. Carpenter Brute is one that I really like, if you've never heard of them. Or like original soundtracks, scores, things like that. And I'll usually, like for finger guns, I started getting back into Nine Inch Nails because Val is a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. And so him and I talk about music all the time because it's kind of it's actually kind of important to finger guns. Like, music is kind of there as a secondary, it's in the background, but it's there a lot. And he and I both love music and both play. And so like we actually made playlists for our characters. So there's a Wes and a Sadie playlist on Spotify if you want to look it up.
I'm going to Google that now, or when I ask you the next question, you just kind of want to lean in and drop something in the private chat, because everybody knows that's a question I'm going to ask you in a bit. So maybe you send that to me and we'll share the screen when we get there.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, music is kind of there. So I've been listening to The Fragile by Nine Inch Nails a lot.
That's a good one.
That album is amazing.
Yeah. Are there other things outside of the world of comics and creating that you have passions about or interests in? Like, if you don't want to read a comic, like my wife loves to drag me to like historicized fiction films. And for me, I just roll my eyes at them because it's another day at work, which might be comics that from time to time for you, that if you've been grinding on a comic all day, you don't want to read through a stack. So what kinds of things might you be interested in or passionate about when you need that moment away from the comic book industry? I
probably would go movies and TV first. Easily, you can see actually a bunch of my Blu-ray collection back there. I have quite a big collection of DVDs and Blu-rays, and then I have like 6 streaming services. Like too many. So I do a lot of that. And it's like I'll try, like if it is something, if I've been struggling on a story or something, I will try to be like, what's a movie that I think kind of fits the vibe of the book, so maybe I'll like be inspired. Or I have a vinyl collection, I'll do that. I'll listen to a record here and there. Or video games I'm also really big into. I actually have a Ninja Turtles arcade cabinet like 2 feet away from me.
Let that like 1-up or 2-up thing, whatever it is.
Arcade 1-up, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I'll hop in and drop in one of Jen and something or Nat's questions, because she, like I, also likes Die, and when she heard you mention that, she probably peed her pants a little bit. Excuse me. Do you do D&D or any like tabletop RPG kind of action?
So I don't. Like, I haven't in the past, but like I own all the dice I need to play because like I want to. I just haven't found the right group at the right time that was like I had opening and it fell on a night that they were willing to meet and stuff like that. So I'm interested, but I haven't ever actually played myself.
That sounds like my story, and maybe Nat, who I have been asking for months to teach me how to play Dungeons and Dragons, if I were to say that maybe you, me, and Justin Richards could find a couple of other people and you could DM for us, maybe you could teach some of us how to play D&D. Sorry. Joey Bag of Sevens, I just made you a mod. So he said he listens to a Finnish flutist live stream every Saturday. So Joey Bag of Sevens, I want you to drop the link to that in the chat because I am really intrigued to see what one of those looks like. I'll say what's up to Newbie Comics. Thanks for stopping by. Joey Bag of Sevens wants to know how to gin and something get a wrench because I bullied her to start doing some streaming on Twitter and YouTube. And Nat says maybe we can put a private chat together on Twitter or something like that. And when you're not worried about deadlines, she can DM for us because Nat does some character voices and they are definitely something.
Nice.
All right.
I have a comic book writer friend that does stuff on Twitch. Casey, at Casey Widows, WIDDOES, on Twitter. They do great like voices and stuff. Like they do D&D like twice a week, I think, on Twitch and stuff.
Nice.
If you're ever looking.
Fair. All right. So let's talk why I was really nervously anxious, excited to reach out to you, and then peed a little when you said yes. Let's talk finger guns. I know the first question might be a little superficial since we've got a lot of people who are actively engaged in reading what you've got going on. But if we have any folks in the chat or on the rewind who are not 100% familiar with finger guns, can you give us a quick synopsis for the folks who have made a bad life decision of not reading your book?
Yeah. It's about two young teens that discover that they can affect people's emotions using different types of hand gestures, namely finger guns, because there's some people that do this and some people that do this. For anybody that wants to know, I'm a double barrel guy.
I'll stop you right there. Somebody did ask me on Twitter if you could drop a quick pew pew with your finger gun. So if I hold on, I don't want me. How do I make you open? All right. Can you give us a good pew pew finger guns?
I'll give you a little pew pew.
All right. That works. All right. Sorry to interrupt, but there you go.
So yeah, and that's so they, when they first discover it, we find it through our male character Wes, and he uses two fingers or two as well, and he discovers that people become angry, and then he meets Sadie, who has the opposite effect with using one finger, and they figure out that they can both do it, and then like they spark friendship, but they both have like broken home lives, and so things get complicated from that, and them trying to use their powers in places they probably shouldn't.
Cool. All right. So I know when you were talking about music, you said that the Nine Inch Nails album you were talking about is kind of that good background for it, and I think when I think about that album, that I can see how there are little bits of influences in both Wes and Sadie. Is there anything beyond that was kind of your source of inspiration, your muse, your spark of creativity that got this story in your head?
Well, like I said, it started as a dream. I actually experienced the concept kind of firsthand in a dream where I was one of the kids, and there was like another kid um, who could do it in my school as I was, like I imagined being a kid. And so yeah, I woke up with that and then worked on it for a bit, and it was when I got together with my friend Saps Cooper that like things really picked up, and we like kind of figured out who we wanted the two characters to be. And so then from there we outlined, and it was usually just kind of throwing on whatever music in the background. I mean, from there, I kind of had to compare it to some stuff to pitch it. So like I ended up watching like some like other troubled teen movies like Stand By Me. I was blanking the name.
But you want to see a dead body?
Exactly. But there was also another comic called We Can Never Go Home by Matthew Rosenberg.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler Voss, I believe, did the art for that one too.
Yep. That book is so good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I read the first like 3 or 4 issues out of like 5 that it was, but yeah, I have the trade now. I should probably finish reading that. But it's got some similar vibes to what Finger Guns ended up becoming. But I didn't really think about it while making the concept.
Nice. I'm gonna take this opportunity to shout out my boy Isaac. Isaac is my favorite 16-year-old kid from Colorado that I love to bully at random on the internet because he is so much more talented than I am. This kid has been grinding to try and get his 100 subs for a long time. And if you see this, my image artwork, and then I'm going to drop Justin and I out really quick so you can check the background. All of that work was done by Isaac. This kid is ridiculously talented in terms of wanting to create his own interpretations of different types of art. He's branching out in terms of his content. That he recently ranked all of the Pixar movies recently, and I made fun of him for his overuse of the S tier. He's ranking his top 5 Marvel characters, and that video might have dropped tonight while I was outside with my kids, or it's dropping soon. I'm sure that I'll take issue with it and fight him in the comments. But this kid is really, really talented. He is trying to reach out to people to figure out how to grow his content and grow his audience. And if you are just genuinely interested in watching somebody do a live like sketch, but sped up so you can see the product start to finish in less than 10 minutes, then Isaac is a good kid to check out. So sub him up. If one of my wrench folks can real quick Google or search for Isaac's link and drop it in the chat. He's like 7 followers away, and he's been grinding for the last like 3 weeks to get to his 100. And when I kind of flew from 1 to 2 and Isaac is like, I'm still at 93, I feel bad. But now that I have 8 people watching, and I'm going to guess that there are a couple of you who have not subbed this kid up, go sub him up, because if he's this talented at 18, God knows what this kid will do in the next 3, 5, 10, 12, 73,000 years. And now Joey Bag of Sevens is going to fight Isaac in the chat, which I 100% support. So I know that book 3 came out last week.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
At the July 8th, I believe.
Oh, shit. I've lost all concept of space and time. So does that mean number 4 drops next week?
No, it drops August 5th.
August 5th. Okay. So 2 weeks. How many books are you currently contracted for? Like, what's the run that Vault has you on the ropes for? And then how many issues do you have bouncing around in that head? Like, how long could Finger Guns last if it's a roaring success?
So we are booked for 5. 5 will be our final issue of the arc, and that's all that's currently signed for. But I definitely have ideas for at least one more volume, and I hope that we get to do it. But yeah, it depends on sales, and we're still with a lot of that got kind of thrown up in the air with COVID. So just being patient and hoping that we sell well. So
all right,
we might get at least one more.
Nice. I see a lot of everybody is promoting and subbing each other up. Yeah, go check out, sub everybody up. Go check out Newbie Comics. I love his content. I would love to say like 85 people can watch this and sub him up. So I hope 85 people watch this and sub him up. But I think I've made now all of you wrenches so you can drop your links in there to kind of check out some folks you haven't. But yeah. So 5+ more. I'm hoping it's successful. I'm at least attempting to inflate your sales numbers. I remember when issue 2 dropped, it wasn't in my poll, and I asked my shop owner, and he was like, yeah, we got 2 copies and they were both damaged. And I looked at him and was like, fuck it, sell it to me now. I need it. I'm not going to press it and pray for a 9.8. I need to know what chapter 2 looks like. And I think I've got like multiple copies of every cover, and I was missing. I'll ask you about those sweet ass Jen Hickman B covers in a bit, but I found one for book 3 today and squealed a little bit. So if you love Finger Guns, go inflate the sales numbers by just buying every copy you can find yourself. And then when someone's like Finger Guns, like pew pew, go, yeah, smack them with a stack of comics and get them going.
Well, I appreciate the support a lot.
Like I said, there are a couple of stories that, kind of touch me in different ways. And like I said, in my last pick 6, when you were my pick of the week, this is something that I feel like even if it's 2 kids from broken homes in kind of a coming of age tale in that way, it's 2 kids with obscure powers that are coming of age that way. And then you're seeing how their social relationships change. Like, I think there's something literally for everyone in this title. And I think that's what excites me about this book, right? I can think of 10 people who may or may not be into comics, and I can go, you should read this story. Or I think of a bunch of my students at school and go, look, like, you want to read something about kind of what you're going through? Like, do you wish you could pew pew and change shit? Like, it gives a lot of relatability to kids from like the representation of not like oh God, all of my kids died or my parents died in a tragic accident. Now bullets bounce off my chest, but it's got that same kind of broken relatability to it that I think is quite cool.
So much. Like, that's exactly how we've designed it. Like, that's the hope. Is that we didn't really set out for any particular age group, but I think it definitely works as a YA book.
Yeah,
I think that teens like around 15 or so could definitely benefit from reading it sometimes. And I was one of those kids who felt alone a lot and was kind of bummed out about stuff. And I also, in different capacities, have experienced both of the extremes that we see Wes and Sadie go through as far as how their homes are broken. And so I just I wanted people to know that they're not alone out there, which, you know, cheesily made the last line of issue 1 is like, we can be alone together. That's kind of like my little promise to the readers.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that still kind of stays true at the end of each book. Like, where when I reviewed book number 1 on either on my blog or on the channel, I was like, yeah, it's this kind of weird, happy-go-lucky read about, you know, pew pew, we can do things and change the world. And then book 2 was like, no, we'll have some of that and then take a turn. And I think that's the cool thing that we still see kind of threaded through, that no matter the chaos that we see each individual go through, the other one not knowing what they're dealing with is still like reaching out and checking in. And I think even if this book was coming out not in the midst of a pandemic that people are denying, like, I think a story like this becomes especially more relevant during these times because we have to check in on each other, right? That we're all quarantined, we're all minimally going out, that we can't do all of the things that we used to. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea of we can be alone together is very, very, very true for this very day in the year of our Lord 2020.
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad that people like yourself are able to, like, a lot of people have been able to resonate and connect with the book and figure out all the little, like, you know, subtext that I've weaved in there. And so I'm really, like, I didn't know how people would take it. So I'm really glad that people have been, you know, relating to it. It's meant a lot.
Well, and I cheat a little bit in terms of catching in on some of these, like, I hope you find it messages, because I've got a communication degree and I teach kids speech and debate. So it's like, let's hone in on the very, very message. But I think that's what makes a lot of stories like this even more satisfying. So I feel like I might have shared our question. Our next question with Joey Bag of Sevens is, who are the people surrounding the creation of your product? One of the things that I've noted every time that I've reviewed this book is that each of you contribute something different to this story, but from your script to Val's art to Rebecca's colors to Taylor's lettering, and God forbid, you know, everybody forgets to talk about the goddamn letterer, but they are responsible for what you are physically reading. Like, y'all create something that sings. So talk about first kind of how the four of y'all came together, and then kind of give us your impression of what it's like to work with each of them. Like, I follow everybody on Twitter, and I watch y'all kind of interact, that you all crack my shit up. And when you drag each other, that's like, y'all virtually seem like a good tight-knit group of folks who've known each other for 20 years. So give us the origin story of the Finger Guns crew.
Yeah. The biggest story would just be between Val and I, mostly. Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Too nice, too kind, but I appreciate it. So anyway, Val, I met him through a writing buddy that we share. When I was I have a personal project that I'll tease you about at the end of tonight. That when I was looking for a colorist, and he told me about Val, and so initially I thought Val was a colorist, but then I looked at his portfolio and I was like, oh no, this dude can draw. So, and I was like, this would definitely work for Finger Guns, like, really well, like, because I really wanted something kind of like cartoony-ish, like I wanted it to be a comic book, but you know, it's more, you know, everyday slice of life kind of stuff, you know. So like, it had to look real, but also like I wanted it to be, real clean cartoon, or cartoon's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be drawn, and so he just hit the nail on the head for me. And so I pitched this book without an artist attached, which is not super usual, but I was, I didn't really know any artists that I could work with until I had the book already signed. So anyway, Adrian and I assembled the team together after he agreed to do it. And I told him about Val, and he agreed that looked like he had a good shot, so we tested him with some character designs, and he knocked it out of the park first try, which is usually how it goes with from my script to the final page that you see. Is you see so few notes, Val just hits it every time. So that's how Val got in, and then Adrian knew Rebecca from working with her on She Said Destroy.
I'm going to ask you about that book in a second.
I'm repping my girl Liana Kangas today. This is her shirt.
Yeah, that is, Liana is the reason I bought that book. I didn't know anybody else attached, but I saw Liana and went, ooh.
Yeah, her art's, I love her art so much. But yeah, so that's how Rebecca, he was like, what do you think of Rebecca from She Said Destroy? I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And she was available, so she agreed after checking out the pitch. And then Taylor is a buddy of mine from back when I was doing YouTube. He was one of my favorite letterers in the game, period. I think that he's a little underrated with his skill level. And so, yeah, he was just an easy, I was like, yeah, bring my buddy in, who I know.
I'm going to
do killer.
Bully Taylor really quick.
Do it. He's probably asleep, but as he told me right before the show started that he was about to pass out. So, but he wanted me to give his regards. So, to everyone watching, Taylor Esposito gives his regards.
K. Titus, the man who never sleeps. What time is it in Japan at this very second? Because I know it's tomorrow. Yeah. But I don't know what phase. I feel like this is normal day time for you, because when we chat at my normal 1:30 release, you're like, it's 2:38 a.m. So, K. Titus, tell me, A, what time it is in Japan right now, and B, how many hours did you sleep last night? Because this guy is literally in on everybody's content. That K. Titus has made 3 videos now, and they're all about good, positive shout-outs to the community. Ken, you are one of the good ones for not just popping in, but what you do for everybody. But yeah, I like that origin story of the team, and it feels a little bit, again, kind of the right place at the right time with the right connections, which I think is really, really cool. Now, the question that everybody knows is coming, because this is something that I have literally asked everyone, and it's because I stole it from reading Tina Horn's Safe Sex, that I read their book, and I got to the very last page, and it's like, okay, read this book again, but here's a Spotify playlist. And I went, you just read my fucking mind. When I saw it in that Texas Blood, where you could scan a QR code at the end, and they were like, read it again, here's the playlist, and I was like, yes. You said that music is a big influence for you. That is very much where I'm at, and I've already cursed my children with that dumb music brain of you will not hear a song for 6 years, but once it pops up on the radio or online, it word for word.
Yep. No way.
So you mentioned earlier that you've got a playlist created for each Wes and Sadie.
Yeah, I DM'd you the Wes one, and the Sadie one should be right there with it. Okay. On the same profile.
I'm going to share my screen now, And since you came prepared and you've got the playlist, kind of give me, you don't have to go song by song unless you want to, but kind of pick, a couple of songs and tell me why you think these are very good in terms of being descriptive of the two primary characters.
Totally. So yeah, Wes's playlist is a good one in particular. Like, I mean, Sadie's is great too, but like both Val and I relate a lot to Wes. Like there's a lot of both of us in that character.
Okay.
And so his playlist is kind of just like what our playlist would be if him and I made a playlist together. So it's a really good representation of Val and I. And like, so yeah, you've got Terrible Lie by Nine Inch Nails there, which is like, like I said, Val's a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and I'm resurging in my fandom of it because I was, excuse me, because Val got me back into it. And I was like, oh yeah, this stuff's like really fucking good.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of people ever put Echo and the Bunnymen on a playlist. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I see it.
That's Val put that on.
Okay.
He has excellent taste. Talking Heads, I had to put a Talking Heads song on there because I had Wes buy a Talking Heads album in issue 1. And that was on purpose because they rule. The My Chemical Romance song, I wanted to make sure we had some MCR because these kids are the perfect age to discover MCR. There's a moment in issue 2, I believe, when Wes shows his record collection to Sadie, and he shows her an album that he says, like, this is the first album my dad got me, and it like changed my life. Because everybody's got at least like one of those, right?
Is it a goddamn My Chemical Romance album and I missed it?
It's not. But it almost. But my point was going to be that it almost was. It was going to be at one point, but it's actually we had to change like the colors and stuff so that we couldn't get sued. But it's a Green Day album.
Okay.
So you see Green Day down there. That's my favorite Green Day song is Hitchin' a Ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. LCD Sound System is just one that like I'm huge into as well, and they're they have that Talking Heads vibe.
Yeah.
The Hives are some of my favorite punk stuff, and the Vines
I had an intro buffer that was Walk Idiot Walk until the 4 seconds that I used got copyright violated, and I was okay, fine. And it wasn't like you won't be monetized. It was like, you use this song that nobody's thought of in 10 years, we will kick you off the internet.
Yeah, they're great. I love the Hives. Like, they have a song called Come On. That might be Everybody Come On. But, like, that's all the whole words. Every word in the song is just come on. But it, like, the way that they do it, it's punchy and it rocks. Screaming Females is one that I'm a big fan of. Screaming Females, and that song in particular, Leave It All Up to Me. Sabs Cooper, who, like I said, was originally developed the book with me, and her name is on the book she has a story by credit with me. She sent me that one because we both looked. She's actually the one that showed me Screaming Females, and that one, if you look at the lyrics, has like some very on the nose finger guns kind of lyrics to it. It's pretty cool.
I just discovered for the first time that I can now respond in the chat here on StreamYards, which didn't used to be a thing, but
nice.
I just dropped the link to the playlist to everybody else as we go through it, because this nails it. What else? Oh, Coffee and TV. That's a good one.
Val picked that one. Val's, he has killer taste. The Iggy Pop, The Passenger, I love that song.
I like that. All right, so if I scroll back to the top and click on Finger Guns, I missed the description. Wes's Sad Boy Jams. That I like that. I like that very much. All right, so let's look at Sadie, cool girl with the girl.
Mm-hmm.
All right, point out some of these to me. that stick out for her?
So yeah, as you can see, a lot more modern music. 21 Pilots is one of my favorites for modern music. So I knew that I wanted to have something of theirs because they actually they're a band that legit, like the way that he writes the lyrics for that band to me, inspires me. Like I love poetry, and I feel that their music has a lot of poetry to it. So I wanted to make sure we got one of those, and Holding On to You I feel is a relevant song with the lyrics as well that relate to the story quite a bit. And Doom Days, just kind of some of that sad girl energy.
Hey, Kansha, for those of you who have kind of clicked in or out, we're talking to Justin Richards, who is the author and a co-creator of the Finger Guns universe, and he's talking us through Sadie's playlist. Sorry, I got distracted for a second looking at that Brockhampton song is so good.
That's Val again, great stuff. So you see there with the screaming females again.
Yeah.
That's how that's what my friend Sabs first showed me, was that they did a cover that's a Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. Because they went on this YouTube series where they create a playlist and they bring in rock bands and they have to cover one, and when somebody covers it gets crossed off the list. So
I love that. Yeah. I love that mostly because of Guar, where it's which one do they get stuck with? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how bad does no, it's not. Who's the lead singer? It's not Odorous Youngus.
I all their names.
But I love those AV club sessions. That is peak internet in its goodness.
Yeah. So that's a way of I wanted it to be look, say West showed Sadie the Screaming Females, and so she added Shake It Off because it's a killer cover of a song she would like. Bryan Adams, we reference in the story that Sadie and her mom listened to Bryan Adams together. And The Look by Roxette is a big feature in issue 3. That's one of my favorite 80s jams.
Is that the one they dance to?
Yeah. And I also used lyrics from that song for the solicitation of issue 3. And it's also the part that they sing. It's a sick jam. That's what it's doing in there.
Yeah, I saw that and I immediately went, na 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 na. She got the look. Yeah, that's why I don't sing in public. You're welcome. Those of the 7 of you who heard me butcher that. Some Post Malone.
Yeah, I like Post Malone and Childish Gambino.
Redbone is now going to be stuck in my head for 6 months. I will hear that song once every now and then I'll just wake up at 3 a.m. and it'll be
yeah, it's a killer song. And then the last few there are all from Val. But you can just see we wanted her to have a lot more pop and a lot more modern music.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of more who she is.
I like that. Now, as I feel like this gives a very good informed perspective of who they are or where they're coming from. Is there the possibility of creating a West 2 or a Sadie 2 that, as we are exposed to more of just how their baggage or how broken they are, the way book 3 ends to me is such an oddly beautiful thing in terms of we finally get to see Wes have a good day with his dad, while Sadie has the exact opposite thing. That yin yang composition is something wild that very much drives the beginning of issue 4. So what if the 7 of us who are watching were interested, would you and Val just kind of sit down and go at least at the end of the first arc. So in 2 more issues, like, here's where they are now.
That's definitely something that's possible. We had to discuss a lot. This is all just me and Val wanted to do this. We're kind of hoping that we can put the links or like an ad in the trade for it for the playlist, but we'll see, because I don't know how hard that is legally. But anyway,
have you finished issue 5?
I have. I've written it, and Val is currently drawing it right now.
So one of the things you should check in, and if you remind me in our Twitter DMs, I'll send you the back page of an issue of Safe Sex and the QR code on that Texas Blood, where I think since it's all Spotify and since it's all there, either adless if you have the subscription or for free with ads, like, I think you could even drop the first playlist into the end of issue 5. And then I think that would be a dope thing when issue 6 becomes a thing, that would be a cool kind of promo way. Like, don't update it at the end of the arc. Like, push that playlist out, and it's like, here's where these kids are now. Like, Sadie, who's all like, you know, screaming females version of Shake It Off, you know, where is she at? Is she now at the death metal screamo version of a Taylor Swift song? Let's see. Everybody is making fun of my singing. Yeah, all of you are right. Like the generations of Spider-Man do the music. I don't get that one. Joey Bag of Sevens, you're smarter than me. Yeah, you don't have to give me 1 red cent for anything. Like, you can just high five me or elbow bump me if, you know, cons ever become a thing again. Because that would be cool. But I really like because when we were talking back and forth, I told Justin on like Sunday that I would send him some interview questions ahead of time. And then at 5:00 my time today, I was like, I didn't send him a goddamn thing. And I clued him into the playlist question, because there have been 1 or 2 people that I've asked it and they've just kind of gone, that I was like, you should look at this one to know that this motherfucker is bogarting 2 playlists to give you the psychology of these 2 characters. Like, once we go off the stream, I am dead ass dedicated to take 1 through 3 off the wall behind me and read them while alternating between their playlists, because I think that's cool, right? Like, you have some people who write comics that are essentially writing film scripts, and those folks get a bad rap. But you have folks like yourself or like me or even Joey Bag of Sevens and Nat in the chat who we just kind of put on this mental soundtrack. And I think it's very, very cool that that's the way that you and Val both operate, where you're like, you want to dive deep into these characters, listen to the mixtape, and that's a very West thing to do. Or that's a very, like you said, here's the reference to We Can Never Go Home. That's one of the things that the male character in We Can Never Go Home instantly does, is cut a mixtape for the female. So, like, that's a good deep cut reference to it, where it's like, oh, I see what you're working with. Joey Bag of Sevens isn't now madly in love with you.
Appreciate that.
So when we get to the last question before I drop a link and see if other people besides Nat want to hop in and ask you some questions, you teased very intelligently that you have a personal project that you're working on. So give us a little taste of what's working and what you can tell us if there's anything, because usually I ask this question and someone goes, yes, I'm working on something, but my NDA says I can't say shit to you.
Yeah, I'm luckily for you not in the position where I have to worry about any contracts. I can tell you that I've got like five pitches that are all done and like ready to go around, and like I've sent some of them to certain places and some to others, and I'm working on that. So there will be more like that. But the personal project that I can, because I paid to have everything done myself, I'm publishing it myself. I can tell you all about it. So it's a little zine project of mine that I call A Silent Night, and I'll be putting it out for free on my website once my website is ready to go, which I'm hoping will be like, I wanted it to be like a month ago, so hopefully like any day now. But it's a 5-page short story that I did with Gavin Keedry, and then some really, really cool, inspired by the theme pinups that I've had done by a number of really talented artists.
I like that, Joey Bag of Sevens. Yeah. Will there be printed copies of this zine that we can buy and inflate Comic Tom's rankings and put it in the Key Collector app?
At some point, yeah, I will print it. It's going to start as digital. That's why it'll be free, because it's like my own thing, and it's actually it's more of like, it's kind of a charity thing in a way. I'm not going to be selling it, so I won't be getting proceeds to donate to charity. But I did partner with a charity on it because the theme of the book deals with my depression and anxiety, and so I partnered with the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, ADAA.
Nice.
And all that the partnership means is that like I'm gonna include their name and their website link in the book. I have a letter page where I kind of explain what the book is about. Excuse me, what it's about and everything like that. So yeah, hopefully it'll just be a good way to. I just hope that it kind of the same with Fingerguns. Like I want it to resonate with people who suffer like I do, and hopefully be able to direct them to the ADAA and their resources to maybe spread some awareness and some help. So
I'm gonna guess you could include something on your website. Like I will tell you every time like I'm given a promo book from any of the independent publishers or anybody who self-publishes, like I'm the kind of person that I will read it and go, yeah, you gave it to me for free. I'm going to make sure I pay you for your shit. Like I'll make sure you get that. Like I think you should include something on your website where it's like, even if it doesn't go to you, I'm going to guess that a bunch of people would make that charitable donation and be like, here's money for mental health services, because you want to talk about people who are kind of being neglected during this time. It's people with mental illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would tell you that the moment you were like, this is live, I would tweet the shit out of it anyway. But the moment you would say, and here's where you can go, here's my free zine, give a small donation to, people who are out there working for folks with anxiety and depression. I think as more and more folks get, more open with talking about mental illnesses, it's something, again, like I think Fingerguns becomes more relatable. Like the first comic that I bought in 2019 was House of X #1. And it was ironically because that was on the first day that I had an appointment scheduled with my therapist for the first time, where I was diagnosed with a panic disorder. And, everybody who reads comics, sure, we're a very large kind of cross-cutting groups of folks, but we're all, nerds. We're all outcasts at some level, that we have elements of just like social ostracization of things that we're into. But the number of people who read and engage in the medium who can relate to any kind of mental condition or mental illness is, you know, I think including that, you would get some big donations, even if people read your zine and they were like, yeah, okay, it's fine. That you would get a lot of people from the community who would be like, we are, you know, the more we acknowledge that we are all broken, that we're all wired in different ways, the better we become. That I remember as I got, you know, diagnosed with my panic disorder over the summer of 2019, and in kind of dealing with the way my brain was functioning now and how I would respond to the chaotic environment of a school, I started talking about my anxiety, my depression. I would put, when I was having sensory overload days, I would put signs up outside of my classroom, and I would post stuff on our like learning systems like Google Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And one day my principal came up to me and she was like, why are you talking about your mental health? That doesn't seem like, that seems too personal. I was like, are you kidding me? The number of kids that I have IEPs or 504s on because they are dealing with anxiety, depression, they're bipolar, any of these things. Like, if I can be a semi-functional adult, but they know that I am fighting, you know, myself, my brain, you know, I'm fighting just my natural reactions. Why is that something that I would get rid of? Because again, it's something to connect with the kids that I'm supposed to have that relationship with.
Yeah, no, that's really good that you did that. I think it's really important, and I mean, it's obviously important to me with the way that I write a lot of my stories, and you know, the zine. Like, I never felt better until I finally acknowledged it and spoke it out loud and believed it, and it was like, wow, no, like, this makes sense, and like it makes me feel like, you know, I understand more about myself and more about why I act a certain way when certain things happen, and why I get down and can't get out of the dumps even when I want to, or, you know, when a lot of other people might be able to just go, oh, just blow it up, it's no big deal, don't worry about it, you can't change it, and it just like doesn't matter, you know. And things like that. You know, I start to understand it a lot more the more that I accepted that it's something that I deal with, and so there's a lot of negative stigma out there, like with your principal, what they said, where they were like, you know, are you sure you should be sharing that? It's like, yeah, like, it's something that tons and tons of people suffer from, and too many of them suffer alone, and like, that's the worst that you could be in like a bad state when you have bad mental health. So it's important for me to let people know that they're not alone. So that's kind of like a lot of my goal with Finger Guns and with
well, this threads back to what you said at the end of issue 1, right? We can be alone together. Mm-hmm. That we're all suffering, we're all struggling, we're all dealing with stuff that even if you don't have anything on like the mental health spectrum, everybody's still fighting some kind of demon. Mm-hmm. And we can find a sense of community and togetherness to help each other through it, that even if we can't sympathize with a specific instance, we can definitely find empathy with one another. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, that's what makes this book super timely now. Well, and there you go. Nat, being able to talk about this stuff makes it more manageable. Like,
exactly.
And before I had my diagnosis of like, here's what we can identify as wrong with your brain, like, I would deal with kids in speech and debate who would be dealing with all kinds of panicking and anxiety, and I would be that asshole coach in that moment who's like, you need to suck it up and go in there and do this. And I think even the moment where it's like, oh shit, here are my coping mechanisms and strategies. Like, we're all dealing with something. And I think that's what makes it cool. If I can ask a weirdly kind of personal question, although since you just kind of opened up with where you're at, you at the beginning said, you know, your level of self-confidence is low, and hearing people kind of sing it up. What is it like to be a first-time creator who's dealing with anxiety or depressive issues, putting yourself out there, because you have to deal with the fucking internet, who you will have some corners who are like, yeah, finger guns is the best thing ever. But I'm going to guess there are a couple of assholes who are out there who are like, look it, this is stupid. Why aren't there superheroes? Why are Sadie's tits so small? Like,
Yep.
What's it?
I found one the other day that was very much like, this is boring and not bombastic enough like comic, like superheroes. And so I was like, that's cool. That's just not what we're not what you're looking for, and you're not our audience. So that's fine.
Yeah.
It's been interesting for sure. I've had some benefit of having done comic book YouTube for 3 years and interviewing people like, you know, like you're doing with me here, and doing a lot of cons and things like that. Like, I kind of put myself out there on a smaller scale already before. And so I had a little bit of preparation in that sense. Obviously, like I said, it's a much bigger scale. And honestly, it's gone a lot better than I ever thought it could.
Mm-hmm.
I really, you know, I was really nervous about this book coming out just because I know that the title is a little weird and silly, and so some people don't take it seriously right off the get-go from the title, and then, you know, explaining the concept of it without just going like, this is what we're doing for the whole book is not an easy thing to do. And so I just knew that this book was going to be a little tricky to find the right audience, and I was hoping that we found it, because I know that there's people out there, but I just wasn't sure. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
And luckily, like 99% of feedback and reviews and everything has just been really nice, really phenomenal. People are really getting what we're going for with the book. A lot of people, you know, say just the nicest, most amazing things. And like, you know, we got lucky enough to be printed in the New York Times before our book even ever came out. Like, it was,
oh shit, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, we were featured in an article called 8 comics to get you through till spring, something like that. And we were on the list, and they actually printed it in the paper edition too, which was just insane.
That's way better than them spoiling that Catwoman called the wedding off.
Agreed. But yeah, so, you know, it's been really, luckily it hasn't been anywhere near as bad as I thought it could have gone. And I'm sure, you know, things could take a turn at any moment. But the good thing is, you know, I have Vault, and the people that I work with there at Vault are amazing. As far as helping me navigate being a new creator, they've done it before, and they know what I don't know and things like that. And it's just been really nice to have their support the whole way. Like, you know, they've, from the very get-go, they've been like, we love this story, we're excited to make it, we're gonna back you up 100%. So that means a lot, because I have tried to put a lot of myself into it. So thank you.
We'll see if Nat can make you cry when, I know as soon as I drop that link, Nat's going to show up in the live stream.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah. So.
I want to dovetail where you're talking about Vault, because I am relatively new to reading Vault books.
Mm-hmm.
My first one was Resonant.
Okay.
And then I picked up She Said Destroy because of Liana's art. Mm-hmm. And then I started pulling Finger Guns and Money Shot, because those both came out around the same time, and then Bleed Them Dry.
Nice.
Those are 5 works that all kind of tell very, very, very different stories, which is what first makes indie publishers cool. And Bearded is back, right? Vault has some great series.
They do.
So I am interested not necessarily in picking up a story from time to time based on whether or not it relates to me, right? Like, I don't know why Samurai Vampires would relate to me, or I don't know why She Said Destroy in terms of like its message of like faith and fighting would relate to me. But I really care about books where if I can get a sense of the person, I'm okay investing in the creator because I think they're a cool person, let alone the stuff that they have created. So I'm gonna full screen you for a minute. Partially it's because I have to pee a little bit. But I want you started singing Vault's praises a little bit, but if you could sing the gospel of why Vault is awesome a little bit, and then for the folks who are watching, if you've got any folks who you feel like you said, Taylor is a fairly underrated letterer in the game. If there are folks that you have interacted with either from your YouTube days or your days as a creator with Vault, who are some really good people we should invest in regardless of what their story is about?
Sure, I can do that.
Oh, nope, not me. Not me. We want Big Justin.
So for Vault, I would say, as far as what makes Vault so great, aside from their diverse stories and their great, great stories, is the Wassel brothers who started the company and own the company. Adrian Wassel, who is the editor-in-chief, and Damien Wassel, who is the publisher. The two of them just love comics, and they know what comics needs. I feel like they always are looking out for innovation and what's going to make the comic book industry better in general. So it's really those two are the heart and the core of Vault. And I think that's why so many great stories are made there, aside from just they're both talented and so are the creators that they sign up and things like that. So from there, it's just how diverse the stories are. And it's funny because they focus on fantasy and sci-fi and a little bit of horror now. But there's still just so many diverse, even in only those 2 to 3 genres. They have so many diverse stories from, Finger Guns, which is really kind of almost slice of life, and really grounded, and all the way up to bombastic space stories like Wasted Space and wonderful lesbian mythology stories with Heathen. And it's just, they make good stories. Plot is fantastic. Tim Daniel, who co-writes that series, Plot, is definitely somebody that you should follow. He is the lead designer for Vault, and so he designs every single logo, every single book, every single trade, every little page that you see, all the ancillary pages. He does them all, and there's no one better at it in the game. Like, there are many other great, talented people out there for sure, but no one beats Tim Daniel in my opinion. So that was another big honor as far as getting my first book picked up at Vault, having my first logo designed by Tim Daniel. Heist is one that I didn't. I only read one issue, and I've heard good things, but I need to get caught up before I can say. I think the first issue was good, but yeah. So yeah, like Tim Daniel's one I would definitely highlight. I call him Comics Dad because he's just the wisest and most nice father figure that you could ever want. One you mentioned, Bleed Them Dry. My buddy Elliot Rahal writes that book. He's a fantastic gentleman that I've followed his work from when he was writing minis in Dark Horse Presents with Donny Cates.
Nice.
And doing, heavy metal books, which he's actually said he got the rights back to, so he's hoping to print that somewhere. There's this book called The Doorman by Elliot that's really good. It's really fun space detective story. It's cool.
Nice.
Really funny. Michael Morisi is a great guy. Very talented writer. He has novels. He's written a lot of stuff for Star Wars. He had a new DC book that either just came out or is coming out later this year. And that's it's a self-contained Dick Grayson story.
Nice.
From like his circus days and stuff. Like I believe it's called The Flying Graysons, if I remember right.
I've seen I don't think it's out yet, but I've seen a couple of ads for it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Money Shot? Money Shot is one I also need to get caught up on. I read 2 or 3 issues, and they were hilarious and super fun, and it's a good time. I like Tim Seeley's work, and the I forget her name, but the girl that he's co-writing that with, she's really talented too. I've spoken to her a few times. She's great. So yeah, that's kind of that problem with what I was saying. Like once you start making comics, you have very little time to read them again.
Yeah. But one of the things I'll do with all the folks that you said are good people, I'll go back and watch this on the rewind, and I will drop links to their Twitters, Instagrams, or anything. If I can find a good like one-stop shop of their work, even if it's just a fucking Wikipedia page, I'll put some of those folks in there because, you know, like I said, I think that's I am more about investing into the person, let alone the story, right? Because even if of your 5 things that you've got kicking around, if 2 of them land and the next one is not as good as Finger Guns, I'll still pull it. I'll still pay for it. I'll still read it because, right, you hooked me with the first one, and, you know, everything that you've done, you know, in terms of talking about the way you see the world, not just on Twitter, but tonight, I think really shows that you're one of the good ones.
So I wanted to point out, Nat said Sarah Beatley is the co-writer for Money Shot, so I want to make sure that name got highlighted. And then
and Sam dropped it too, so you know it's right because both of them dropped it. I'm gonna guess Sam Googled it because that's what Canadians do before they react. So there's Sam's, the better, probably the right spelling. I would run over. If I had heard Money Shot earlier, I would have pulled some issues before I went to or after I went to the bathroom, not before. That'd be weird. Be like, I'm reading space academic intersex alien porn while I pee.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah. And then one last name that I'll make you look up, who has a ton of fantastic backlog to read, is Christopher Sabella. That gentleman writes some good comics, and he is a good dude. He's a really good egg. His Twitter personality is very brash and forward, but has like a lot of good opinions on stuff, and his heart's always in like the right place. I love that guy and his books. Like I've read almost all of his work, and I don't think I've ever seen him write anything bad. So,
well, you know, like I forgot where I was going with what you said on that. Like we talked about at the beginning of this, right? You are a very much give no fucks person on social media. You will make us, like, your opinion is known, it's clear, you will not waffle. And that's very, like, that's the other thing I like about indie creators versus people who are working at the big 2.5, I'll call it, you know, including Image and that extra piece. That sometimes you will have people who will just kind of sit on the fence and worry about their job a little bit. And I think that's one of the good things about a lot of indie creators, where it's like, no, you're going to see their true colors. You'll get a sense of their personality. You'll get a sense of what they believe in, because not only are you just going to engage in your normal everyday conversation on your Twitter, but you're also going to be that person at the same time who is going to be thumping the pavement to try and, you know, increase sales or connect to the fans or get just more people in general to read the book. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about folks who are starting or focusing primarily, you know, the large part of their careers in that indie world where it's like, yeah, that's me. This is what I believe. If you don't like it, fuck off. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've definitely, I mean, I aspire to be like a lot of the people that have inspired me on Twitter and in being a creator, you know, because that's kind of where comics lives, is Twitter. And so, you know, I followed a lot of people for a long time. And
I'll let you finish and then I'll bring that back up.
Oh, no worries. I try to be, you know, like them, and, you know, they stick up for people who can't stick up for themselves, and, you know, things like that. And I just, I've been given a small platform. I'm not like well known or anything. I'm not famous, but I've been given a small platform, and I really want to use it for as much good as I can. So I'm glad that you feel that way about my social presence, I guess.
No, I like it. And like I said, the moment I was like, this is where it's hard for me, and you were like, fuck you, you're wrong. Here are 3 good, you know, explanative reasons why, you know, most people stop at the fuck you, you're wrong. And when you were like, this, I was like, no, you just took me to school. You're right. 100%. Nat, who, as me and the boys over at Comic Burrito have been just flooding her list with things to read, Nat has started reading a bunch more digital things, and I've learned that for as much as Nat loves a letterer, she apparently loves flatterers even more in terms of the folks who do something to the art to make it more digital. So there you go. The other thing we talked about on a stream, on the Comic Burrito stream I was on Saturday night, is that Sex Criminals ends at issue 30, but issue 30 is issue 69 because they are jumping 39 years ahead. And I discovered that there is a cover, I read in the previews magazine, that you can buy a super explicit cover that is Chip Zdarsky and Matt Fraction just fully in the nude on it. And I was like, that's something I need to own because that's dope.
Sex Criminals is great for those NSFW covers. They're so much fun because they usually get like artists that you don't normally see do anything close to NSFW. I believe Irene Coe did one, Jim Bartell did one, Scotty Young did one, and they're always really funny and over the top, and it's great. Scotty Young's is like a big Conan cover, but with like lots of penises all over it. It's great.
I would like to see that because I think of Scotty Young as like the cutesy kid Marvel covers.
Yeah, no, look it up. It's great.
I will Google Scotty Young Sex Criminals and just be prepared to look at a bunch of dicks and be like, all right. Are you down for me asking you one more question and then dropping a link to see if anybody else wants to pop in?
Yeah, I should probably end in the next, by 20 minutes. But aside from that, yeah, let's go.
Okay, so we'll say 12:30 Central or 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. We're done because Justin will have been with us for almost 2 hours and we need to bow down to him. Before I drop the link, is there anything else you want to mention, talk about, say, promote, anything else before we release the hounds?
I'll just say, if you want to check out the personal zine that I talked about, follow me on Twitter. Like it's been saying in the banner the whole time. I'm at Emo Comic Writer. And you can find me there on Instagram too, but I don't post there very much. But yeah, so check that out when it comes out. Like that would be probably the only thing I have to promote myself right now, other than just keep reading Finger Guns. The trade will be out hopefully I believe it's supposed to be out in October, so pretty soon, and you can check that out with a cool alternate cover and hopefully some extra stuff. One thing that I do know that's extra that'll make it into the trade that's not in the singles is I have chapter names for every single issue that didn't make it into the singles, but it will. It's already been designed. Tim Daniel designed cool pages that say the title names of each chapter. So
I'm just saying it's my bucket list to be a quote on the back of the trade. So if you want me to write something that doesn't use profanity on the back of a trade,
we'll see what happens. You never know.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want Finger Guns Arc 2 to be a thing, then my challenge to everybody who is here and everybody who watches it on the rewind and everybody who looks at a tweet or an Instagram post about this is to go buy every goddamn single copy of Finger Guns #4 you can find, because first, the story is fucking amazing. And if #5 is supposed to be the end of the arc, I don't know what the fuck you're going to do with that. So when issue 5 drops, I'm either going to sing your praises or I'm just going to be that asshole who's like, fuck you, you ruined my story. Sadie should have big tits. But have any of these issues been ordered for a second printing?
No, we didn't get a second printing. We came out at a bad time. We came out when COVID started.
Yeah, that's true.
And
all right.
The shops don't order as much at the beginning of the year either because they're still backlogged from Christmas. So
that makes sense.
And both Val and I are first timers.
Everybody who watches this, we will go pyramid scheme on this shit, but nobody gets rich. The goal for all of you is to buy every single issue of Finger Guns #4 that you see, because if we can get Finger Guns 4 to need a second printing, like I feel after reading that, if there have been folks who are like, oh, I'll read this on Comixology or I'll go see if my store has it. #4 is a goddamn game changer. And if there is any book that deserves a second printing more than, I would say, #2, because #2 is where it's like, oh, this shit isn't cute. It's about to go dark comedy on your asses. #4 deserves a second printing because I read it, and I think what you'll see me say about issue 4 in the video tomorrow is I read it, I started typing a message to Justin on Twitter, deleted it, went back and read the last 5 pages, typed some more, deleted it again, and just stared. Like, issue #4, you'll be sad, you'll be real pissed, but you'll also go at the end of this like, okay, what's coming next? And if you've liked the first 4 or the first 3 issues and you love #4, then I'm going to trust Justin enough to say that #5 will have a half-assed tied bow on it where it's like, okay, this arc ended enough. But buy more Finger Guns so we can get issue 6 in 2021.
You might have me pegged a little. You might have me a little pegged. A little bit.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to drop the link to the stream here in the chat. Like I said, Justin's got 13 minutes before he's got to deal with his normal West Coast Oregon life unless he's in Portland and doesn't want to go outside because there are undercover militarized federal agents who cite their objectives in my city of Kansas City as being effective at fighting protests, racist shit. So if anybody wants to hop in and ask a question, everybody who I've seen posting in here except for Bearded Comic Bro won't drop a dick randomly. So if anybody wants to pop in and ask a question, you want to be someone who uses your voice to tell Justin and his creative team how amazing the book is, like, anybody can hop in and say anything. So the moment I see someone popping up, I'll react appropriately. But it's there. Even Nat, who says I can't hop in tonight, I bet is finding a way to fight Sweet Barbecue Sauce, and I can't remember what her other cat's name is, and hiding. Like, Nat, you can go hide in your bathroom on your phone and not wake your boo up to ask Justin the potato question, because he's awaiting. I already got him to pew pew. Oh, if Joey Bag of Sevens doesn't want to pop in, the other question that I saw him and someone ask on social media, and I don't know if this is a you question or if it's a Rebecca question, is there a significance to the colors that are used for the 3 different shots that we see, right? We see Wes's red for angry, Sadie's blue for like calming people down, and then we get that in issue 3, like that purple give no fucks color. Is there a intention behind that?
Yeah. I wrote them that way. That was like really, really early on. Sabs and I both talked about it, and we agreed that like we wanted colors to represent the emotions, because it does that so well, but we weren't sure like what it was gonna be. So it was actually Val that came up with like the wavelengths that you see, and like if you notice, like the red wavelengths are more aggressive, whereas and the blue ones are a little bit more like slow wave, like calm, and the purple ones, those are a really great combination of both Val and Rebecca's colors, because Rebecca added like that crackle around it that like really, really pops. And I call that one the courage gun. And yeah, like it's kind of because so you got 1 for calm, 2 for anger, and then you kind of cross that, and then I had them do this to make an extra thing, but doing that is your courage gun. So it's red and blue combined, making purple, and purple being a courageous color, like the Purple Heart, things like that.
I wouldn't have made the connection with the Purple Heart, but it makes sense, especially at the end of 3, when we know that Sadie is gearing up for battle, but don't know anything else. So I missed that, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And I did have one, like it was originally Sabs and I, we were talking about, we chose white for the calm gun instead of blue, but when the script was officially finalized after I rewrote it like 5 times, I talked with Rebecca about it and was like, what do you think about going blue instead of white? Because I think that just makes more sense with like red and blue combined, and it's a more calm thing. And she was like, yeah, no, I think that's 100% on. So
nice.
Blue, so.
Man, I can't believe nobody's going to drop in. Even if you could get some, like I told Bearded Greg to drop in and just give you some of his signature ooh-wees. So maybe he's running to plug in his mic or go reconnect to whatever tech he was on for the stream he was probably just on. But that kind of stuff is really cool. Oh, speak of the goddamn devil. The champ is here. I would like to welcome to the stream Bearded Comic Bro, who is one of my favorite folks. He is on the verge of hitting 250 unless he hit it today or tonight and I missed it. But coming from the mean streets of somewhere in Ohio, and he better be holding that sick-ass belt or it's behind his head. I'll let him hop in, and then I see a question from Sam in the chat that I'll pop up after Greg is done. So here we go. Yo!
What up? Well, I figured I feel like I had to hop in just because Poser. I felt bad, like you're inviting everyone to your party and no one was showing up. So I was like, I'm just checking. But I didn't want to hop on because I have a billion questions to ask Justin about the series because I love it. But I had to hop off because I was on another stream with John talking about Wind. So I was like, so I feel like I'd repeat questions. So I just wanted to say,
I can't watch that until Friday because my LCS, he was dealing with some family shit today, and it's a one-man show. So I get Wind number 2 on Friday.
Yeah, well, yeah, don't watch it then yet. No. But man, I've thoroughly enjoyed Finger Guns, and so I'm looking forward to checking out what you guys have talked about because I'm sure the questions I've would ask have already been asked because I trust Poser and his interviewing skills. But
Sam, you literally just have to click on the link. I dropped a link in the chat. You click it and show up as a gray box, and then when the champ is done, I'll let you in until Justin needs to go eat or do something else West Coasty or Oregonian.
West Coast, best coast.
Midwest. So here, real quick, then I guess my question for you, even if you've answered it, give me the elevator pitch then. So 30 seconds. Sure. How did you take your story and get it connected with Vault?
Yeah, so I did kind of answer that, but I used to do comic book YouTube reviews, and me and my crew did Vault reviews from like the get-go. So we became friends with the Vault people, through that way. And then it was just a matter of I had decided that I wanted to try. And so I emailed Tim Daniel my pitch, and he was like, send this to Adrian right now. I woke up in the morning with 3 emails from Tim that was like, yo, send this now. And so I sent it to Adrian, and then we talked about it at Emerald City Comic Con last year.
That's awesome. So I knew Poser, you would do a good job. And last question I'll ask then as I'll hop off so someone else can hop on, I guess. How mad am I going to be at Poser here? He's been hyping up issue 4 a lot, and I feel like I'm going in with some high expectations now.
You might be more mad at me, honestly. Everybody that's read it so far, it's definitely been like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what's up with that ending and stuff? So, but I'll tell you what, you followed me on Twitter today, and I followed you back. I'll DM you issue 4. You can read it.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
There you go, Greg. Tomorrow midday, we can both just pull up a stream of you and me opening the PDF and pulling a Perry like,
what do you mean? So, man, awesome. Well, I'll hop off so you can have, I know you guys stuff. So, man, keep it up. Awesome. I'm looking forward to whatever you're going to do in the future. Because if this is your first work, in the comic book realm, like you've said, man, I'm blown away. And so I'm excited to see what you got in store for us in this universe and outside of it. So keep it up.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Bearded, you got anything cool happening tomorrow?
No, I did my interview with Ryan Ellsworth who wrote North Bend from Scout Comics. I just dropped that tonight. So I got a couple more creator interviews set up the next couple weeks that I'll be dropping, but creator interviews and unboxings, that's really it. So
you talking movies on Friday with John?
We're pushing it back. It's on Saturdays. We're going to push it back another week just so we can get some prep for it, but we'll be on talking movies on that. And I think I'm on Andy's channel tomorrow night. Comic Man Andy's channel talking about some comics and stuff. So I have to look at my schedule.
Yeah. If y'all in here aren't followed to Greg, the furious 5 of you who are hanging out, I love Greg's content. You'll see my homage to him on Saturday, but he is one of my favorites because he does not pull any punches. Oh shit. Our boys from Lost in Comics are here, and I know that that Chris has talked a little bit, finger guns here or there. So Chris, if you want to hop in, there's a link in the chat, and you can ask Justin something before he goes to bed. But back to me pining over Greg. He watch all of his stuff. His unboxings are very entertaining, even if he needs to work on some voices like Adrian. You get good reactions from stuff. He knows what he's talking about in terms of the stuff that he loves. I enjoy Greg as a fan, and as this being his second appearance, since Greg was the person on my Dear God, I hope I have 100 subs by now stream, and he was like, dude, you have 100. I fanboy out on Greg, maybe a little bit less than I've tried to hold in on Justin.
Hey, man, if you fanboy out on me like you do on Justin, then we're in good company. So
I'm waiting for my ooh wee shirt. I got my resonant shirt from Bruce and Stephanie today. So I'm looking forward to be able to wear an ooh wee let's go shirt.
You guys are the reasons that I made a shirt that I'm like, no one wants this, but a couple of people have gotten it. So whatever. So cool. So awesome, Justin. Looking forward. Poser, thank you for your kind words as always. And yeah, I'm only 3 away from dropping the 250 sub. So so the reward. So see you guys.
Thanks, Greg. I'm going to drop the link one more time because I saw
we can do one more.
My favorite Southern comic geek is here. So I know, Chris, here's where I'm conflicted, my guy. As much as I love showing up and listening to y'all, there is a chunk of tomorrow where I'm just going to have to take my headphones off and not listen to you, because I couldn't pick up books today. My shop was closed down, and he's not going to be open until Friday. So I went to my other store, and unless you're talking about free, unless you're talking about Detective 1024, which I have no idea what's happening in there, and that might even be a last week book. This sweet, cool pink Power Ranger book, which I only bought because it's shiny and my reptilian brain took over. I know I need to read Kanto, so I'll put Kanto on my to-read pile.
Kanto's good.
Oh, Nat will be excited that I picked up A Man Among Ye #1, the first printing. I didn't read Middle West, but I picked up number 18 so I can have the last one. So unless you're talking Kanto, Batman 95, or Yasmin, which I don't think is going to win your Twitter poll, then I gotta go radio deaf for a couple minutes. Yes, the Southern Comic Geek is here. I love his midday breakdown of things, so I want to say thanks for showing up. And we saw one half of the pop culture talk show earlier today. We saw some TK earlier, so Mo's here now. Mo, I want you to hit that 250 at the same time as me so you can shave your head, unless you're going to back out of that. We got the no hat shot. So if nobody else is going to pop in, we'll wait an awkward 45 seconds to see if anybody else has a question for Justin or wants to sing his praises. And by 45 seconds, I mean I'm going to take my awkward sip of beer out of my sweet X-Men glass that my neighbor gave me today.
We could do, Sam posted one in the chat earlier.
Oh, yeah, I referenced it and said I need to remember to ask you that question. So if nobody pops in, here was the question that Sam asked, so we'll make that Justin's last question in case someone pops in, and Nat, you can tweet at him the potato question.
Yeah, I saw it. I'll answer it on Twitter. So how long between my acceptance letter and issue 1 hitting the shelves? So let's see here. I pitched it at Emerald City Comic Con 2019. So it was about a year when issue 1 hit, a little under a year, and that's actually really fast. And we were originally planned to start around mid to late 2020, but we got bumped up at one point because I had a lot of the writing pre-done, or well, like a lot of the mapping pre-done. So when another book fell through, we were bumped up to February instead of summer or later this year. So there's a world that it was supposed to happen in where you guys wouldn't even know what Finger Guns is yet, but we were lucky and got bumped up. And so, yeah, it was about a year, but definitely not, that's not usual.
All right, I'm going to click on my boy Chris from Lost in Comics singing your praises. So
thank you, everybody, for all your kind words.
So at least you got a bunch of people shooting some love your way. I'm going to full screen you for a second to see if there's anything else you want to talk about or say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye when you're all done.
Sounds good.
So there's Justin, everybody.
I'll just say thanks to Comic Book Poser, and thanks to everybody that showed up. Thanks to everyone that's watching afterwards as well, and everybody that's read the book. Appreciate your support a ton. It means everything. Every time you guys tweeted me on Twitter, all your kind words and your reactions, I love it. So feel free to always hit me up on there. I'm on there a lot. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Just thanks. Appreciate it. And yeah, look for more Finger Guns coming August 5th for issue 4, and then issue 5 will wrap up the arc in September. So hope you guys dig it.
All right, so I'm going to bounce you off, and then if you want to chat for a couple seconds when we're all done, don't all the way exit. But I want to say thank you to Justin for spending almost two full hours with me after we went live instead of just recording an interview, because I think a lot of the things that we talked about, or a lot of the things that the chat asked about, would have definitely shaped this interaction in a far different way than just kind of my standard slate of questions. So you see a Sam King giving you a pew pew, you get a little pew pew there from Nat. So thank you very much. Like I said, I'll post it on Instagram and Twitter tonight. Tomorrow o'clock. Good God, it's been a long day. Tomorrow, I want to say at 1:30 Eastern, is the premiere of episode number 2 of Indie Comics You Should Invest In, and it's where you get more of my thoughts on how much I love Finger Guns. And if you are someone who has not been lucky enough to see a little bit of a taste of issue 4, if you finished issue 3, I give you a shot of the second or the third page in, and a couple of either my questions that I have, or some fanboy specky conspiracy theories in there, that if you check that out tomorrow, that would be awesome. I will be away from my children. Yeah, so it's at 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern. Check that out. If you love it in the same way, then this is another video that you can share with other folks who may not be fully invested in the idea of the series, that if we all share the same love of Finger Guns for the same reason, then it's something you can share with everybody. So, Greg, thanks for stopping by. There's Justin's everybody. Thank you for loving our sad kids. I really enjoy that. Again, especially with the We Can Never Go Home reference. And I'll take my last opportunity to remind Nat, who is Gin and Something, who's done some Periscope streams on Twitter and then has been fighting the YouTubes for some live streams, that right now I think the group is me, Justin Richards, and Sam King, that you tell us how many people we need to form a D&D party, clan, crew, adventure. I don't know. I play World of Warcraft and I just go stab things over and over again in the same couple of characters. But Nat, there's evidence several times throughout the video that you will DM for us. Thank all of you for stopping by. If you are on the rewind and you've made it to the end, I appreciate you checking this out. You should very truly read Finger Guns, that you know from all of the series that I talk about, I give positive reviews. If I don't believe in it, then I'll be like, hey, I bought this book and then forgot it existed, like most of the Marvel books that I've bought post-COVID, except for Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman 2 was kind of a banger. But if I don't believe in it, if I don't think it's good, then instead of just going, oh, look at this terrible piece of shit, it's a 2 out of 10, I'm only going to talk about the stuff that I think everybody should read, or there's a common, ground to it or relatability to it. So in the same way that I end every single video, and, the very awkward live streams from yesteryear of serial killer lighting to today in the new random room where my wife was like, get my shit out of the closet, move to the basement. Thanks for stopping by, everybody, and have a good one.